Now, this is an on-screen tutorial for high-end black and white inkjet printing to a high photographic standard. Now, there's a fair bit of commonality between colour inkjet printing and black and white inkjet printing because of the nature of inks nowadays. We're using the same inks, we're using the same papers, and a lot of the techniques are very, very similar. But bear with me because there are certain differences that we all need to be we all need to be aware of. Now, in photo inkjet printing, in black and white, in monochrome, the three crimes that we've all committed in the past. Over adjustment from when we're opening in RAW, or when we're opening the image in Photoshop or Elements or Lightroom, we tend to fall into the trap of over adjusting according to what we see on screen. We want to try to come away from that particular crime. The second crime that we all commit, particularly me over the past up to fairly recently, I used to downsize every image down to 300 pixels per inch, no matter what size of print I was producing, and no matter what size of megapixel camera we were originating from. Now, the current best practice is to take careful notice of this. Now, we're going to go into this particular issue in our worked example, and the last crime that I'm certainly guilty of is working with out of calibration equipment. Now, when we're dealing with colour, our eyes adjust for errors in colour, and the eyes are a wonderful piece of kit for us to work with, of course, and it just corrects any small error. But when we're dealing with monochrome, there is no hiding place. If our computer screen is slightly out of calibration, or it's an older computer screen, or the specification is too low for what we're trying to achieve, we're not going to do ourselves any favours. And also in the inkjet print, our inkjet printer really must be absolutely correctly calibrated, which nowadays means an up-to-date, accurate, custom printer profile, let's face it, for each stock paper that we usually use. So that's the third crime that we all commit from time to time: an out of calibration computer screen and an out of calibration inkjet printer. Now let's get stuck into the actual technicalities of what we're going to be doing now. Let's move into the first stage, which is to make sure the printer is accurate. So in order to establish whether our printer is accurate, although we're dealing with colour, with black and white, we need to establish that our printer is absolutely accurate with respect to a known calibrated original. Now, this original calibration print you get from your supplier of ink and paper. If you're dealing with Marit, you'd apply to us. There's a link below this video, and we will provide for you free of charge a certified accurate calibration print. And what you do is you print out your own version of this image. In amongst the text here, it'll tell you how to download a JPEG version of this image. You simply print your own version of this, put the two side by side, and you need to make sure that your neutrals are perfectly correct. We need to know that our primary colours are correct as far as saturation is concerned. So we've got red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow and black. They have to be evenly, smoothly graduating all the way to the colour of the printer paper. And we need to know that the midpoints are occurring in the same place. It's ever so important that these graduations occur in a parallel way. Now, if this happens, as far as monochrome is concerned, it enables us to render all the different density tones without any nasty colour tints coming through at any stage of the density range. If we've got a different curve characteristic, let's say on magenta, to what we have in, let's say, cyan, we'll end up with a bit of a cross curve, and we'll notice a particular tint creeping into our monochrome prints at a particular density stage, which we don't want. So if we see any of this characteristic coming in, where we've got weird lumps and bumps going on in our graduations, that's a warning sign that we need to custom profiles as soon as possible. And Marat do a custom printer profile for you free of charge for the life of your printer, as many times as you need, for all the different stock papers that you carry. It's quite simple. You simply print out the test target. We like you to phone us up to make sure that your print settings are absolutely accurate, and then you send out this test target to us via the post. We'll process that for you. We send it back to you, and then you generate a calibration print, and then you check it with our original print. And then, so long as the two match, you're okay to proceed with your black and white printing. So we'll go a little bit further on here. We're now talking about the screen calibration. Now, when you have your screen calibrated, you want to make sure that your screen is capable of calibration. Now, if it is, you can use an on-screen calibrator like this Colour Monkey here. What you would then tend to do is you'd get the screen calibrated, and you'd also look at the screen visually. You see this screen here for monochrome. Now, I've said before that there's no hiding place in black and white. I think it's a good idea that you finely tune your screen to what you know to be an accurate neutral monochrome side by side. Do you notice that we're looking at this print under a correct viewing light? Now, we've got a nice viewing light here, but a good quality white light is just as good as in my book. So long as the print is illuminated with a nice, clean, white illumination, then we're okay. So we can go on a little bit further, and we go to let's have a look. We go to the next size. Now, the next thing to mention is that when we import our image into our image editing software, now this is a pretty poor image, but at least we've brought it up large enough for us to see what we're doing with this image. We've got it into RAW, and we've made sure that the actual magnification on the bottom left-hand corner there is large enough that we can make out the detail, and that we can make sensible adjustments here according to what we see now as a decent size version of our output screen. It's quite important that we don't adjust either in RAW or adjust in Photoshop or Lightroom or Elements or what have you, according to a very small preview version of our image. I think we should take time out to enlarge up our image and look at various parts of the image. We'd actually move that around just to make sure all is well. Now, I will be making a reference to this later on. The image resolution. Now, we're going to work with this in our worked examples So we want to make sure that we use the correct resolution as far as our camera is concerned. So what size camera have we got, and what size print are we going to produce? Now we also do a version for our American friends which will tell you what the correct resolutions, the document resolutions, would be for American sizes as well. So let's get started and let's get on with actually producing the worked example.